Hey, it's Trinity from the Divine Path LLC and Moonstone Mystics here for another 12-step tarot reading. Today's reading, we're going to be talking about step 1. Now, I started filming and realized that I was actually reading what numbers were on the cards for some reason, and I'm not sure why. So I stopped recording and I kind of went and asked my guides, hey, what's going on? Why am I not reading the cards with the appropriate number and suit on them? Should I be getting another deck? Because oftentimes if I start filming and I'm just blocked from seeing what's on the table, that tells me that I'm using the wrong tarot deck. My guide said, no, you're using the right deck, but you're missing something in here. So I decided to start this reading over, but I do have 6 cards pulled. There's 3 separate messages. The first set of cards is the Empress in the reverse, and then the 5 of Swords in reverse. What I was hearing out of that is a lot of the excuses that we can come up with, especially as creative people, which the Empress is all about creativity and fertility and all of that stuff. We will come up with excuses on, well, I can't produce something creative. I can't do my work of art. I can't write my music. I can't write my poetry without having substances on board. That simply is not true. From personal experience, I actually know quite a few people who are some of the most creative, intelligent people in recovery. And the artwork that they do now that they're in recovery and completely sober and clean is impactful, is the word that I would use for it. It's inspiring and impactful and so much better than anything they were coming up with when they were utilizing substances. And I can say that there may be a learning curve in there because we have to start learning how to take care of the mundane stuff first before we're able to get our creative juices going. Although doing small little bits of it along the way will be helpful. But returning back to step 1 when we're admitting that we're powerless over something. It could be a drink, it could be a drug, it could be a person, it could be a philosophy, a principle. If you're obsessing over the news, that's something that you maybe are powerless over if it's causing you grief. So being able to admit that powerlessness actually helps you give up the fight and surrender. The 5 of Swords is all about winning at all costs. A battle of the egos, although that's more of the 5 of Wands. And once we give up that fight and surrender to the process and admit that we maybe aren't all that in a bag of chips, that we need to start rebuilding from the ground up, that's when the healing can really start, is recognizing that fact. The second set of cards that I got is the King of Wands. That was the only card in the 6 that was upright. And then I have got the 7 of Swords. Okay. So the moment you admit your powerlessness and the moment you admit the unmanageability of your life as it currently is the moment that you stop self-sabotaging yourself. The 7 of Swords is all about self-sabotage in this, when I'm taking it in this context. It's when we stop lying to ourselves and others. We stop doing the things that just completely thwart any attempt to have a normal life, just because our anxiety, our emotional balance is just not there. But it also gives us the ability to take charge of our life. And that, I know that kind of sounds like a paradox where you're taking charge by surrendering, but that's really how this works. Now, the third set of cards that I have is the High Priestess in the reverse. And then I also have the 9 of Swords in the reverse. So the High Priestess in the reverse talks about your intuition being off. You haven't really learned how to utilize it yet. And that does come with time. That's more of a 9-step promise than obviously the earlier steps. And it comes with experience, and it comes with being able to talk with other fellows who have walked this path before you and are helping you out. But don't be afraid to get help, because you're not all here. Okay, there's a lot of healing that needs to happen within the brain when we're stopping using and drinking. Once we admit that powerlessness, once we admit that our lives are unmanageable, we need help. We can't do it on our own. And so that's where meetings and sponsorship comes in. And I highly recommend both. Work them thoroughly. Get those phone numbers. This reading does not replace your sponsor. Just because you're getting advice from me doesn't mean that I'm replacing your sponsor, I promise. Anyway, the Nine of Swords actually talks about, like if it's in the upright, it talks about restless nights, anxiety, bad dreams, that sort of thing. One of the benefits of quitting is the fact that you're going to start getting restful sleep for the first time in probably ages. I know in my early recovery, that was something that was such a blessing, was to be able to go to bed and then sleep for 8 to 10 hours. And my body was just like, oh, thank God. So, you may have some anxiety during your waking moments, but those nights where you can get some really good rest and put down, the anxiety and the obsession about where are you going to get your next drink, where are you going to get your next drug, or what are they doing, what are they thinking about, why aren't they with me? Anything that's an obsessive thought loop is going to be halted once you start working the steps. And that first step is I'm not saying that it's the most important, but it is the one that we need to do perfectly. The rest of them have wiggle room. Everybody's path looks a little bit different. But even the book says that the one step that we have to work with 100% perfection is this first step. We have to admit that we're powerless over that toxic attachment to whatever it is that we're trying to detach from. And then we have to admit and see exactly how unmanageable our life has become because of that attachment. Once you do those two things in tandem, then you're ready to move on to the second step. Let's go ahead and get, I'm going to get an angel message for you. And the nice thing about 12-step programs is that it allows you to come into an understanding of a higher power, or a power greater than yourself, that is truly your own. There's no dogma. There's no right or wrong way to view God. And I have seen and heard people say, if you need to give your power or your will in your life over to a chair or a doorknob, do it. And I recommend that. I have heard other people say, oh, that's stupid. It needs to go straight to God. No, baby steps, baby steps. And I have said this more than once in a meeting, where, how do you know that person's higher power isn't sitting in that chair listening to them get vulnerable for the first time? Don't rob them of that. So it is perfectly fine to whatever will not pick up, whether it's a drink, a drug, or the phone, if it's a person that you're trying to detach from. Go ahead and give your will and your life over to that, because it's not going to hurt you. All right. One more shuffle, and then I will pull the cards. Okay. Spirit, what message do you have for the collective about step 1? Oh. It's perfect timing to do so. If you're watching this and you have a desire to change your life, it is the perfect time to do so. What message do you have for step 1? There it is. Oh, we've got 2. All right. All right. In the near future, and romance. Now, my lovey loves. This is a reading about addiction. We're not going to talk about your love life right now. What we are going to talk about, though, is the fact that right now, if you are taking this first step and you are taking the leap into the mystery of the universe and the beyond and the things that you cannot understand, which is what we're asking you to do, in the near future, you will be finding a romance, but not with another human being. You're going to find that the union that happens between you and your higher power is so profound that nothing else can take its place, nor should it. You will also find that you will have such inner peace in the relationship with yourself that it is again profound. You will get to know yourself on a level that takes a lot of courage to get there, but it will be so much to your benefit. It will be the relationship of your lifetime. And if you think about it, it should be. Because nothing is permanent in this life. Nothing. No relationship except the one that you have with yourself is permanent. That and your higher power. And so why not put the focus on those two things right now? Why not just take a deep breath and say, you know what? I'm going to take my own hand and save myself. And again, that first step of admitting powerlessness and unmanageability of one's life is really where it's at. That's all it takes, is reaching out, asking for help, and aligning yourself with people who have done it for themselves so that they can show you how to do it for yourself too. Okay, that's our reading for today. If you are just starting this journey, I am so excited for you. If you have been on this journey and you're noticing that there are other things that you could be 12-stepping yourself off of, welcome to my world, because that's all I do is find things that I can detach from. But I'm so thrilled, so happy to have you on this road with me. Thank you so much. Your love and support has meant the world to me. And if no one has told you today, know that I do love you very much. Take care.